biggest problem with all of this are these little groups that tie us up in court and still not allow this thing to happen. How are you going to handle the fact that anything that you do up there, they're going to take you to court over and it's going to slow the process? How are you going to get around that?
Force the issue. These groups are radical, most of them are violent. You have to force the issue. Sometimes it's like you're trying to get into the end zone. You have the ball. There's a bunch of little guys in your way. Get out of the way, I got this. You're going to have to force the issue. And they can tie us up. You should also have the branches of government to do it. Legislative, judicial, and we can do, some of this can be done through executive order, a lot of it can be done through legislative. So when you have legislation that comes out and set in stone, they can challenge you all they want. But it's there now. We're just going to go forward. It's a difficult question to ask, but it's one that we're determined to utilize your resources properly and doing it before it's
We can also look at the statutes themselves coming into court. See what kind of incentives there are in that legislation to litigate. For example, you look at establishment clause jurisprudence cases, where every time that there's some mention of religion by a municipality, if an interest group feels they can run into court, and then they have all the benefits, because if they win, the municipality will pay the attorney's fees. Whereas if the municipality loses, or if the municipality wins, they don't lose their attorney's fees. So there's this incentive there that fosters that type of litigation. So maybe we should be looking at some of these bills that these groups go in on and say, is there a way to level the playing field there that would, without taking away people's right to get into court? Because I grew up, where we had love and nail up there in the 1970s. We do want to be sensitive to these environmental issues. At the same time, love and nail, if the city of Niagara Falls made the decision to build on top of a dump, basically there's a problem.
We're just going to take 2 more questions. It's getting a little late, and then both gentlemen will be sticking around after the meeting to meet and greet to answer your questions. So we'll take Frank and Sherry, and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, Frank.
Okay. I have made a but as governor, when you continue to funnel a disproportionate amount of taxpayer dollars that system called Philadelphia. Every time I read anything, Philadelphia is getting a enormous amount of money for no reason at all.
Philadelphia is getting 75% of the state education budget. If elected governor, I'm going to sell Philadelphia, New Jersey.
You got the Pittsburgh, brother.
Philadelphia is a basket case right now. You know that I'm from Philadelphia, and I can tell you that because I'm inside, I see it in there. So when you're riding down the 2800 block of Oxford Avenue, when you look on both sides, you see abandoned houses or wherever they're taking the largest of the state taxes to deal, and they're not dealing with the issue. I got it, I understand. We need to somehow force these government in Philadelphia to change the ways that we do business. And unfortunately, it's a 7-1 Democrat town. So that is very difficult. But I promise you that we will bring equality in terms of state resources to all schools across the Commonwealth. You have my word, because I went to school in Eastern Pennsylvania. I traveled the state not just as a candidate, but as this individual looking at various schools. And I can see where the other portions of the state, Coreyville, Elmwood City, area, Alabama. I understand that they need those resources. Philadelphia is going to have to get it back together at some point. So I agree with one final statistic that I think is damning. There are 501 school districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Guess which school district does not have an elected school board? we'll have, obviously have the property taxes and deal with the funding, not with the other.
Let's suppose you get elected, you're a freshman congressman, you're on a committee, the Congress is talking about a bill, and you don't perceive there's any constitutional authority for Congress in that action. What do you do?
I have a duty to oppose it. Vote against it. You know, and they argue against it. Lobby my fellow Congress members against it. Well, every law student has to do a rigorous writing paper. And when I was in law school, I wrote down the president's duty to veto unconstitutional legislation. And the issue that I talked about was President Reagan signed a bill that he thought part of it was unconstitutional. And so he signed a signing statement that explained that his administration would only enforce what the parts he thought were constitutional. And I'd argue that he had a duty to veto the whole bill. In this court itself, when President Bush signed the Feingold Act, you know, he thought the parts were unconstitutional. The president and the Congress members take the duty to uphold the Constitution. They seemingly have delegated this, you know, finding something constitutional and unconstitutional to the courts. They're co-equal branches of government. They each take oaths to uphold the Constitution. If you honestly perceive